building data products over analytical data at any scale. Jorge, nice to meet you. Help us understand that statement and give us a bit of an intro into who Tinybird are and what you're doing.
Thank you, Elliot, for having me. And of course. So if you think about how data products are built today, when you're talking about, especially when you talk about large amounts of data, you normally will have some component that is capturing the data, and then you will have some component that is running some type of ETL and pipelines that will transform that data and leave it somewhere. That will be like a data warehouse. And then if you want to build something on top of that, as in an application that can scale and you can hit it with a many number of requests and per second and things like that, then you'll still have to run some other process, put it somewhere else that it's designed to scale, and then you will have to build some APIs, and then it's a whole thing, and people throw cathedrals of infrastructure at this problem. And what Tinybird helps you do is it gives you the platform and the tools to ingest data at any scale, transform and query that data using SQL, and expose the result of those transformations or those queries as API endpoints that are low latency and that are made to scale in a serverless way, such that you don't have to worry about how many servers you have to provision, how much memory you have to choose for each server, et cetera, and just focus on building. So we simplify development over data for developers at any scale.
Nice. Aside from what seems like quite a seamless process or piece of software that you've built for seemingly a convoluted process, what value on top of what you've described do you think that you'll start creating for some of your customers?
That's a great question. We sometimes talk about real time as one of the values that we bring to customers. And a lot of prospects say, like, real time's kind of a trigger word. Some people will hear it and say, we don't need real time for this. And actually, what we find is when you reduce by several orders of magnitude the amount of time it takes to react to what's going on with your business, the way you operate your business can change completely. And you are suddenly have a lot of opportunities that you didn't have before. You can react to opportunities and problems much faster. And also, and this is very key to developers, if you're building things over data, you will have to iterate and you'll have to run queries. If every query that you run takes 300 milliseconds or 100 milliseconds instead of 30 seconds, your development speed and your experience about developing and your speed to market, it's going to go through the roof. And that's the things that we see with our customers. Some of them start with one use case and say, actually, this makes a lot of sense. I'm going to try it with this particular use case. For instance, I'm going to build charts for my users or for the users of my product so that they can see how they're taking advantage of my product. And because they can do that so quickly and with few moving pieces, suddenly they start thinking, wow, like this is amazing how fast that I can develop this, how quick the queries are. What else can I do with this? And then you start thinking in a different way. You start thinking more in, hey, if I can do these things in real time, why would I do them in any other way? And speed is such a competitive advantage. It becomes a different way of thinking and approaching business problems in general.
Typically, without Tinybird, what does the current landscape look like for teams, if you like, capturing their data real time or not?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. What the landscape looks like today is it really depends on the stage of the companies. But let's say sort of a sophisticated company, they'll have a data team of some kind with some data engineers and probably a head of data or a VP of data, something like that. And they'll have some means to capture the data, maybe something like Kafka or Kinesis. And then they'll have a data warehouse, maybe something like Snowflake or BigQuery, something like that, which becomes sort of the source of analytical truth. And that's absolutely fine. And that's not something we intend to replace. The problem is that data first tends to be a bit locked in within the data teams. And then data engineers become the gatekeepers for engineers or developers to build things on top. And so there's this handoffs situation that takes place where engineers need to be sort of twiddling their thumbs until, there is some pipeline or some process that is leaving the data somewhere so that they can take advantage of it in their applications. And the problem with that is, first, you're basically limiting what an engineer can do. Engineers developers in general should be capable of working with data at large scale. I mean, at the scale that data grows, at the speed that data grows. I mean, you have to enable developers to work with much more data much faster, and that's a key thing for us. And then the other thing is, the more steps you put in the middle, even if it's bringing you control, it's making your ability to react to what's going on much slower, because, there's a lot of things happening in the middle, and it tends to go sort of in batches every hour or every 30 minutes or whatever. And, that basically is robbing you of the opportunity to automate your insights and react to problems, generate alerts, build data products that give you real-time insights and so on. So that's why, we work with some data teams that are sort of choosing the right tools for the right jobs, and they still use Snowflake or BigQuery, but first they capture the data with Tinybird and build APIs for those real-time use cases, and then send on the data to a Snowflake or a BigQuery, and they do data science or BI type of use cases with that, which is, of course, makes a lot of sense, but without missing the capacity to work over huge amounts of data, really quickly by developers that don't necessarily need to be data experts. Just knowing SQL and how to use APIs, you can be very powerful with Tinybird.
It feels like there's a heavy onus on a number of people and technology processes or mechanics in place right now. And from what I've understood from you, Tinybird feels like it's quite a good solution for some of that.
Yeah.
Or a lot of it.
Especially for building. Whatever, you want to exploit your data and you want to do it easily, and you want to have speed to market, like really build something. I mean, some of our customers, they had already built a solution for what they have now built with Tinybird, but it was, with Athena, and it was running batches and then sending the data to DynamoDB. And then they had this other service. And then every time they needed to make a change, you have to go through each of those steps. Fix if you want to enrich the data, you want to bring another pipe, and you got to make changes to that schema, So that every change becomes a huge headache that involves reams of people and teams. Whereas with Tinybird, essentially you're getting the data right away. You can query it right away. You can build pipes, and you can evolve those pipes with the tools and the platform that we provide. And building APIs is as simple as writing a SQL query, saying that you want that to be an API endpoint, and bam, you have an API endpoint that you can start integrating in your product.
Love it. Are these problems that you and other co-founders saw just in day-to-day engineering conversations, challenges, and working with other teams? Was this essentially the genesis of Tinybird, where you saw an opportunity with how fragmented some of these processes were? And what was the evolution like of that idea and then creating a mission?
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened. We're a strange company in the sense that we're 5 founders, which is an atypical number of founders. And we started the company for two reasons. One is because we wanted to work together again. We used to work together at a company called Carto. And then the other reason is because we were all seeing, we had left Carto sort of at different moments in time. And in Carto and outside of Carto, what we were seeing is first, data was growing at a crazy rate.
Yeah.
Like our customers would come with an order of magnitude more data every year. Also, in outside of Carto, we could see that every time that someone wanted to build something on top of data at large scale that require either very low latency or enriching data or speed to market and ability to evolve, that was like always a huge project. Very funnily, like in Carto, when I was the moment I left, we were hiring our first data engineer, and Carto was a data company. But until that moment, there weren't any dedicated data engineers. All developers would do their own data engineering work because everyone knew enough about data to do it. It's just that data was getting so huge that running queries would take forever. You would have to wait to see if they were successful or not. If there was an error, you'd have to run it again. So developers started asking, hey, can we hire data engineers so that they can focus on this so I can do my job, which is solving the business problem? And that didn't that was a horrible state of affairs from a point of view. Like, we all were engineers and developers and product people. And we wanted to continue working like we had always worked, which is, hey, you have data, you run some SQL queries, you expose some APIs, and you build something. This shouldn't change because the amount of data keeps growing. You should be able to do that over time. So that's a problem we set out to solve, which is to enable developers to build data products at any scale with the skills they already have.
Where do you think TinyBird can be in a couple of years? Like, what's the mission for you and 4 other founders?
Yeah. So, look, we believe there's a huge opportunity, and we are very ambitious and in trying to be the go-to solution for any developer that wants to build things with analytical data. And we've transferred our headquarters to the US. And nice. I'm personally moving to New York. I'm in the middle of the move right now, so I'm very close to it. We already have our chief revenue officer in the US. We started hiring there, so we're very aggressively moving into the US. And in 2 years, we hope to basically be the winning company for the real-time category, because there's always going to be companies that want to have full control of every single parameter of their database and exactly what machine you use. And that's fine. That's not who we're going after. We're going after everyone that just wants their products to be fast and scalable and people that want to iterate fast and build fast. So, which we think it's changing really quickly, and serverless is something that is going to be dominating, in the future.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we've spoken about other teams, challenges with their data environments. It'd be really good to touch on where TinyBird's engineering challenges are. Yeah. And obviously, seemingly, you offer tremendous value to your customers with these challenges. It would be good to understand your own and what gets tricky to build what you're building.
Yeah. So from like any startup, we have massive problems, left, right, and center. I would
as honest as they come.
I would love to tell you like everything is hunky dory and there's no problems, but no, we've realized from early on that initially when we started, we saw our offering as a nice sidekick to whatever our customers were already doing. And we
Yeah.
become very, very, very central to many of our customers, like business critical, as in if we fall down, our customers are down type of, we become their analytical backend for their data products. So one of our key obsession is stability, performance, and observability, as in, you have to be able to know that everything is absolutely working at the speed, that you're not losing performance, that you're not losing data. And, we've invested a lot of resources in ensuring that all of that data is available to our customers in real time. So they can monitor everything that's happening with their account with Tinybird, of course. And then if you want, you can integrate with Datadog, or you can integrate with other tools. We also, but the reality is, when you build a platform like ours, which is not a vertical, we're not helping people create invoices, or it's not a ticketing system. It's a platform where you can throw data at us, and you can then build APIs that will scale to thousands of requests per second. And people do the craziest things, so a big challenge, a big engineering challenge that we have accepted that is always going to be with us as we grow, that it's never going to be fully solved, is ensuring that our customers can scale flexibly and predictably without us having to intervene and, we need to add 3 more servers here and so on, such that it happens elastically. And that's a huge challenge when you're talking about, if you're talking about scaling elastically some of your front-end servers, that's pretty easy to do. But if you are talking about, if you have data that is replicated in different servers, and you want to spin a new cluster or more servers within your database servers within your cluster, then if you have 1 petabyte of data that you need to move around, that's not going to happen instantly. So there are challenges there in finding what's the right level of elasticity versus the right level of cushion that we need to leave for our customers, in terms of ensuring that a peak is not going to bring them down, but enough that we're not, that we make a great gross margin out of our operation. So finding that balance of with our serverless approach of elasticity and stability is a big challenge, and we're getting better and better every day. And some of our customers, basically, for instance, Vercel is one of our favorite customers, and
I was going to say, have you got any examples?
Yeah, their head of infrastructure was telling us, is like, guys, like, you one of, if not the most stable part of our infrastructure, and they use like all of the providers you can think about, So we put a lot of effort in that, and that's always a huge challenge. The other big challenge is more of an user experience type of challenge.
I thought you'd say that.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you want to, one of the key challenges of having a great development experience is evolving your data schemas, evolving your API endpoints, and doing it in such a way that that what you're doing is correct, that you're not losing performance, that you're not breaking anything. So we're investing a lot in making that experience really great. And if you think about it, it's not easy. If you have we have customers that ingest close to over 1 million records per minute. That's a lot of records coming in.
Wow.
If you need to make a schema change, it's pretty scary, for any developer. Like, how do I know that I'm not going to break what's going on and so on? So making that seamless and making that in such a way that developers feel, hey, if I make a mistake, it's okay, because I will know and it won't break what's live. So all of that, that's another huge challenge that we're investing a lot.
I feel for software as a service businesses, API first businesses, developer experience has become absolutely critical for a business success. You touch on your first point, back end and infrastructure needs to be on point, because the sheer volume of data coming into your platform is just outrageous. But I think the front end customization experience part, even on the podcast, I'm talking to organizations and teams, and they put a huge emphasis on this.
Yeah.
And it's so valuable for companies using their business, using their product.
Absolutely. And look, we're all about speed to market and so on.
Yeah.
It has to be, that's part of the experience as well. Like literally with Thunderbird creating an API endpoint over a stream of data, it take you seconds or minutes, really, really fast. The question is, once it's in production and you have not one endpoint, but 20 endpoints, and you have, 50 data sources, and you have 20 people working on and involving that project, making that work, and that everybody knows what's going on, and that they can work like they build any other software project. That's another key challenge for us.
Talk to us a little bit about what it's like to be co-founder of a business, raising a really solid Series A, especially in these times. We're June 2022, and it seems as if you've just got over the line before everything's happened around us.
Yeah.
What's that feeling like? And help explain to some of the people listening what it is like to be a tech founder, and what you actually have to focus on, and investor conversations and all of these things that don't really get spoken about.
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, the great thing about us having raised just before, people would raise in the old times or before this market tumble and so on, is that now we have money in the bank and we can plan ahead, and we can think, hey, what if there's a nuclear winter now, and we're going to be, I'm talking figuratively, I'm really not hoping for an actual nuclear winter, but
please don't.
But you know what I mean? Like, what if suddenly budget slows down, it's really difficult to sell, and we have enough money that we can live through it and survive, and we're building our plan to balance going fast and continue to do what we want to do, but ensuring that if push comes to shove, we can slow down and invest in the product and pick this up when it's recovering and so on. That's sort of a great, sort of good aspect of it. The hardest aspects of it, and the things that keep me awake at night, are that suddenly you have to deliver. You know what I mean? It's no longer, hey, we're 5 founders, doing a thing that it's exciting and so on. Now you have investors that want to, of course, see this working and see a return. We're super fortunate with our investors. I mean, they've been incredibly helpful. But investor conversations and things like that. Just yesterday, one of our investors was sharing on WhatsApp some competitors. He had heard about what our competitors' revenue was, and those kinds of things. Well, they generate pressure, and you have to think about, okay, what does that mean? And that's just an example, but we'll discuss things about, hey, look at what these guys are doing. And, can we learn something from it, or look at, what these guys did, or, hey, why don't you talk to this founder or this other founder who are having similar problems and so on. So that's sort of a constant, part of the job. It's really exciting, and it's great to have people that are really good at their jobs and investing, and that have seen a lot of things, and that they'll help you. But at the same time, you have to sort of balance, hey, I hear all of what you're saying, but here's my focus, and here's what we're trying to achieve, and so on.
I was just about to say, because you can get noise daily. You can get WhatsApp messages daily, right? Yeah. Of this is what your competitors are doing, or someone in different space is approaching software as a service like this, or why don't we try this?
Yeah.
That can actually damage your mental health, your energy towards your business and what you need to focus on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I can imagine that's hard.
Yeah. Look, I when people say startups are hard, actually, to me, it's the actual work is not the hard part. I like the actual work. I enjoy most of it, not all of it, but most of it I enjoy doing. The hard part about startups is that you can't rest because you're so involved in the problems, and you're so involved in. There's always problems to fix. There's always the next thing. There's always something you owe someone, or something that needs to happen, or some opportunity that you're hoping to close, or there's always something that's keeping you mentally active. And it's very, very hard to just go to bed at night and say, I'll think about this tomorrow. I'll wake up sometime in the middle of the night because I have this worry about this thing and so on. So that to me is the hardest part about startups. Is not the actual work. Like, you do the work and you find the way. Is that it's very difficult to rest and disconnect, and that requires a lot of discipline. And I have my moments. Like, sometimes I'm just working out every day, which helps me a lot to be sort of relaxed and sort of good energy. And doing a little bit of meditation or journaling helps me a lot because it sort of centers my head, just a moment to just relax and be quiet and not have Slack and email and stuff open, and it sort of helps me center my head. But then sometimes you're so busy that you tend to think you don't need that. You just need to do the next thing. And that's like sort of a negative spiral. And then 2 weeks later, you realize, I'm destroyed, and now I need to go back and start again and get to my good habits and so on. So it's a process, but so you really need to enjoy building something from scratch, and you have to have this attitude about, hey, we'll find a way. And sometimes founders, we complain like, why isn't this person like this or more like us? Why is he not doing like this? Well, if everybody was as proactive, or as everybody was as then they would all be starting companies. Yeah, exactly. So you have to find the balance between giving people a great place to work, that it's intense, and that you work hard and you do what you need to do, but at the same time that there's a space for everybody to be as they are and who they are, and contribute in the way that they're more productive and helpful.
Do you have a handful of things that you're constantly looking at in your business, as in whether it's numbers, acquisition of users, you can focus on revenue? There's loads of different signals that I can imagine. I don't run a tech-founded business, but are there a few things that you're focusing on that maybe even investors have said, these are the 3 things or 5 things that we should really focus on? The rest is just noise, and just channel it out.
Yeah, I mean, if the investors have to tell you which ones those are, you're probably
in trouble.
You're in trouble.
Right.
Although sometimes they have really, really good observations and so on. But for us, we were actually in the process of changing that a little bit, because, I mean, bear in mind, we didn't have any sales or marketing until very recently. Everything was sort of founder-driven sales and so on. And we don't come from sales; we come from product and technology. So we did pretty good considering, but we were focused on expansion more than anything else. We wanted to prove that, hey, this is valuable. People are willing to pay for it. This is sticky. Like, once people are using it, they'll keep on using it, and then these accounts will expand. They'll use it for more than one use case. Those were the key things, because we felt if that's true, then the next problem is, how do we repeat that? So how do we make this machine work? So that was the first thing we focused on. And so for that, we figured out there was 3 ways that our business would grow, which was first, more data. Like, if our customers are growing just by the fact that they're growing, they'll have
You're going to
more
grow with them.
data, so we will grow with them. Even if they don't do anything new, we should be growing with them. That's one thing. So tracking how much data they are putting into the system is already an indicator, or a leading indicator to expansion and so on. The other thing is more use cases, like they're using now the system to do more things. And for us, the key thing to track there is workspaces. Like within Tinybird, you can have as many workspaces as you want. And a workspace is you could think of it as an area where you create more data sources, more pipes, more API endpoints. You can share data between workspaces. So if you have ingestion set up to track events from the website, maybe you want to have a project that it's, a funnel analysis, and you want to have another one that is for BI and another one that is with the same data. So you can do that easily in Tinybird. So if they're having more workspaces, it means they're using it for more things. So that's another critical metric for us. And the last one is number of developers on board. Okay. Like how many developers, because if there's more developers, there's bound to be either more data or more workspaces. So those are the three ways that are sort of our accounts expanded. But now, since that's clearly working and we're more focused on the go-to-market, we're starting to see, and we opened up accounts like service accounts recently. So now we're starting to look at signups, and we're starting to look at, once people sign up, do they get to create an API endpoint, which is like when they understand what Tinybird is for. Okay. We're looking at those types of metrics now much more closely.
Are you looking at the speed of that setup as well?
Exactly.
As in how quick it is to set up an account, how quick it actually is to set up an API, and are you looking at some of those metrics?
Because it's really, really fast in terms of we look at sort of the overall speed from beginning to end, but we're more focused on where people are dropping than whether it takes a long time, because we know it doesn't take a long time. It's more about, hey, they're confused about something, or they can't, or we don't have a connector to some data source that they're using, and that's why they go away. So we're trying to figure out where people drop off and why. And it's never easy, because sometimes people are just curious and they just sign up and just click around, and you can sort of get bogged down with what is this person doing, but maybe they're just clicking around and just looking around. And then some other people are very, very intentional, and they come in because they've seen something and they want to validate, could I do this with Tinybird? And then that's the ones that we're really interested in understanding, what's the sort of the journey there.
Great. And lastly, what was the decision behind moving HQ to New York?
Yes, that's a great question. This is a global opportunity. The US the US is the end market for this. This is the biggest market, is the most sophisticated one. If we are to succeed there, we need to be an American company, not just a bunch of guys in somewhere in Europe, which is totally fine. But, based on previous experience from previous companies, it helps a lot if you're physically there, if you're all of your go-to-market team, or a large part of your go-to-market team, is American. You have American marketing, you have American sales reps and customer success, and so on. So we basically, that is the sort of the number one reason, is we want to conquer that market. We chose New York because, for pragmatic reasons, really. Like, I'm going to have to be coming back and forth. A lot of our engineering team is in Spain. Madrid actually doesn't have that many direct flights to the US, and New York is one of those places, and we wanted to make it easy to go back and forth. New York's a great place. It's like, you walk around Manhattan and you look at all those buildings and you feel like there's like 20 potential customers in each of these buildings. And
let's get knocking.
Exactly. And then there's a great data ecosystem in New York as well.
Good.
So it just felt like the right place for us. The time difference is like minimum time difference with where the rest of the team. So it just felt like the right place for us.
And you hit a good note, as in, I've heard this phrase, it's hard to be a European company breaking into America. It's easy to, I can't remember the exact phraseology, but mold yourself as an American company going into the American market, a little bit like what you've done with seemingly a new team in sales, marketing, even engineering in America.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Yeah, let's see how it works. And I'm very I've been going back and forth this year, and I'm looking forward to be there on a permanent basis. Almost there.
Almost there. I want to say first and foremost, good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for the refreshingly honest piece around Tiny Bird, anyway. But refreshingly honest piece around what it's like to be a founder in current market and some of the challenges that you have on a day-to-day.
Of course.
It's great to see. Different from what you see on Twitter at times, but it's honest and I love it. And thirdly, good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been
good
great.
Luck. Pleasure. And for everyone listening, share, have a nosy, go and sign up, try and build something, share with your friends, your engineering team. This could be a solution to problems that you're having in the team. So go and share this with some of your favorite people in tech. And Georges, lovely to meet you.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and we have
got some links below.
Community. So absolutely, if you come and test and have questions, reach out to us. We're super interested to hear what you're trying to build and to learn from everyone that comes to Tiny Bird.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Engineers is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found Engineers.io. It's no underscore. We've also got a website, which is engineers.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.